Congratulations.
Cheers. Happy book launch.
Well,
well done.
Cheers to the book launch.
Yeah.
Chris, unfortunately, we never got to do our book launch in Hatchard.
No, you were very good at scheduling it and then rescheduling it. And hopefully we'll have a first anniversary party. Let's do that.
Yeah.
That would be good, yeah. I remember going in at the beginning of March too, feeling a bit slightly optimistic and hopeful during scheduling the book launch and saying, maybe we could do it in April, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Maybe September.
Yeah.
So, then everybody got real and decided, like, you know what, let's just...
No, I think it's really important to keep that optimism flowing, though.
It is.
Yeah, definitely.
It is. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And this is optimistic. We said before the year is out, let's do something. It's, have we got any fellow authors on the call so far, on the Zoom? Anybody else written a book? So quite a lot of time and effort goes into creating these things, as I'm sure, blood, sweat and tears. And so it's a shame, isn't it, when you can't celebrate it. So
most authors, I think, compare them to giving birth.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard someone say it takes about 9 months, but it's less fun to make.
Yeah.
I'm glad to say I don't have to comment on that. I've never experienced.
Yeah. So it is. So it's kind of that, and it's when I think when Ian and I've been talking, we say, oh, there's we've got books, we've got. We never really, couldn't do as many of the kind of talks or many of the things that we were doing or had planned. So it really has been quite disruptive, but it's still if I say so myself, a cracking book and a cracking read, and the people that do read it give us lots of positive feedback and views. So, and there's quite a lot in it, even though it is social media, that is very timeless, because it's less of a kind of social media handbook and more of this is where we are with social. This is what it is. This is what you do with it. This is how it is. This is how it works, rather than the detail of the nuances. So Ian, do you want to maybe kick off with why we wrote this book?
Yeah, I will. It's funny, actually, thinking back to, must have been 2.5 years ago when we first met, and Chris essentially set us up on a blind date, right, between authors to bring together your social media and marketing experience with my kind of psychology, HR, leadership background, because we thought it would be a very good combination to get both of those perspectives in a book. And I thought it was really interesting because I learned a lot more than I thought I would, actually, going through this book and getting kind of both of the perspectives. And it was really good having the book this year, because after everything locked down and stuff, I was like, wait a sec, I should be doing all of this stuff online because we can't do it in person. We can't do talks. We can't do live discussions or anything. So we thought it was really interesting to bring those perspectives together. And we talk a lot about the big picture stuff too, we've got some tactical stuff, but we've got some stuff about the ethics of using social media and marketing, and even things like ethical guidelines for telling the truth versus fake news, which you shouldn't be doing or using, or all sorts of that kind of all that stuff. So it was interesting to look at those perspectives. And I think the myths format was really good because it let us cover a whole bunch of different topics. So we go from everything to, is social media a waste of time? How do you want to use it? What are the different platforms? What are they useful for? To even stuff like security and data protection. I had one chapter that I spent a lot of time doing where I took all of my data and I did GDPR requests for all of the companies I have. And I tracked down all of the information every company has about me, essentially. And in the book, I even published my Google timeline map. So it was my location history for on and off for the last 6 or 7 years. And you get this heat map that shows everywhere that Google knows you've been. On holidays, going to the shop, even like around your neighborhood, it knows how frequently you go to different places. So I just thought some of that stuff was interesting because social media we use it every day, all the time. It's such a big part of everyone's lives. It's just embedded. But it's really interesting to see what the effects actually are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved that you did that piece of research because it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be.
No.
Was it?
No, that's the thing. There were only a few companies that take so much of your data. There were about 5 or 6, and they're the ones you expect. They're Google, they're Facebook, they're the social media companies. Twitter takes a lot of data, but it was mostly Google and Facebook. Whereas 90% of the companies take essentially no data. I was surprised, some of the retailers and stuff, how little data they're actually collecting about people, because they have access to so much about you and your shopping patterns and stuff. But a lot of them only essentially had name and address and basic customer info. So I was optimistic in that sense of most of the business you deal with day to day are doing best practice, they're abiding by GDPR, they're doing everything right, and they're taking not very much of your data and not using it in an unethical way. So if you are trying to reduce your kind of data footprint or anything like that, or track down your digital footprint, there's only a couple companies you have to worry about, really.
Yeah, and I mean, and that has all been very, everybody keeps saying to me, you know, the social dilemma, the social dilemma. Have you seen, David's on here, and I know he was telling me about, oh, this is awful for all of us who work in social, about the social dilemma. But when actually Ian did that piece of research and looking at what was actually tracked, apart from, you know, the baddies, others are being really ethical about it, aren't they?
Yeah, and the other thing is just knowing what data people are tracking or collecting, you can stop sharing that with people. It's pretty easy to turn those settings off on your phone or to change what you're sharing. Like, if you know what data people are collecting, you can change whether or not you're letting them collect it. So it's just good to know that too.